Hello my fellow freedom builders and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to have a quick little look at 12 different swing trading candidates. Well, they might even be long-term investment candidates as well, but since the market is a bit volatile and a bit jumpy right now, I've got several requests if I could make a video about some US stocks that might be potential swing trading candidates. So here you get it, 12 candidates that you can look at. Just remember, these are not buy-sell signals. You have to apply your own method, your own strategy as well, but at least here is some inspiration. If you want to support me and the channel, please feel free to hit that subscribe and like button down there under the video. That would mean the world to me. Alright, first of all, quick look at the market. A lot of you have asked me why on earth I am buying stocks, and that's because I have started buying Danish stocks in the Danish market, since that's where I'm located right now. Why I am buying stocks when I'm actually talking about I think the market is going down. And if you ask that, that is because I guess you haven't watched too many of my videos, or maybe you didn't listen well enough, because I do have a macroeconomic scope of the market saying that we ought to go further down. I simply cannot grasp how we can only be down, something like 16% from the top with the situation in the world right now. I know people are talking about V-shaped recoveries and so on, but basically we are going to lose a lot of businesses. I cannot really see why we are going up. And yes, of course I can, because the Fed is buying, the ECB is buying, but for the companies, there's not much fundamental outlook there that should dictate a large upturn right now. But that said, I don't really care when it comes to trading. I do like to know what I'm trying to figure out what kind of market I'm in, but if my methods, my strategies are saying buy, then I start to buy. I do not try to guess where the market will be. And just remember, I said that in a video a while back also, that if someone is trying to tell you exactly where the market will be in a week or a month or a year, just make sure to ask them if they also predicted the downturn here and the upturn here. If they did that, then you might start to listen to them. Myself and my strategies got me out of the market just around here and into the market around here. So that is the basic concepts of trend following. It is that you never get out of the at the top, and you never get in at the bottom. That's how it is. But you miss, or you stay out of the market in a major part of the downturn. And if we should get a big drop down again, well, then I will get out of my stocks, I guess, around here, and I will miss the entire downturn then. All right. So this is the S&P 500. We have been in a kind of a sideways movement, and right now it is kind of I think a little battle. If I just draw in here, we are kind of in a sideways market here, and right now I think there's a battle going on between the upside and the downside, the buyers and the sellers. And if the buyers are winning from here, well, then we can see a lot of upturn, and I'll just keep buying. And that's how it is, even though I don't understand why. I just have to realize that I am not smarter than the smartest people in the market, so they might know something else than me. All right, let's quickly go to the candidates. Let's just see here. We have the US swing candidates, and they are right here. Very good. Now, if you've been watching some of my videos before, then you know that I am looking for an RSI here to be above the 50 line. And I am looking for this CRS, compared to relative strength, to show me that the stock is stronger than the overall market. Then I do like to see some sort of overall uptrend. That can be a bit tough right now, because we've had these big downturns, and some some bottoms have been broken and making new lows, and the market is a bit special right now. But I am looking for stocks most of the time making higher highs, at least in or higher highs at the weekly chart, or at least in the daily chart. So what I'm looking for, and those of you also that have been listening to my Danish channel for some years, you know this setup. I'm looking for stocks in a green zone like this one, the RSI above 50, the CRS here above its 2 moving averages. It has broken a former top. It's not that I can't enter a stock here, for instance, but normally if there are a lot of tops, let's say that we've had a double or triple top here, then I would not buy it straight up into a triple top with a lot of volume in it. But just a single top like this, I don't mind buying that one. But here, what we can see is that we have, and we are talking about Akamai Technologies. Right now, we're looking at the technicals. I'll have a quick glance at the fundamentals at the end of the video, so you can see which of these 12 candidates actually have some good fundamentals, if you want to look at that as well. So we have this break up here, then we have a drop back. We can see it on the daily chart here, and actually, I found these candidates early yesterday, so this last bar was actually not a part of my analysis when I made it. But what I'm looking for is this break up above some sort of resistance, a drop back if possible, and then see the buyers coming in here at the support. And actually Akamai Technologies here did exactly that. The buyers came in, and if the buyers can keep the pressure here on Monday, then this could be a very good swing trading candidate. Now, it might also be a good long-term candidate, but this could be a good entry. So even though you are a long-term trader, you might have a good entry here so that you can get in as cheaply as possible. That is important also if you are a long-term trader, because if you were getting in up here, let's just take this for, if you were getting in up here and you were to take some sort of stop loss down here, then you can see you had to go, if you want, let's say 2-to-1 in reward to risk ratio. You can see that here we have around 2-to-1 here. Then you would have to go up way farther up than if you could enter a bit later and maybe put your stop a bit longer in. Let's just zoom in here to make the case here. Let's say that instead you could enter here and still have the same the same stop loss point. Then you could go for 2-to-1. That was way further down. That would be a way better chance for you to hit that 2-to-1 target if you can get in at a point where we have had a little retracement and at the same stop loss. Then this will be a smaller risk, and if you want 2 times your risk, well, then it is easier to obtain. So that is one of the reasons why we are trying to time our entries. Even though we might be looking for a longer trades over weeks or months or maybe years, it's always a good point to get in at the best timing point possible. So the Akamai technology, absolutely a good swing trading candidate right now. Then we have the advanced micro devices, and I know some of you might say, yeah, well, this is in the top of the channel right now. We have the regression channel here that is drawn automatically. I have made a video about that one, but you can find it. The icon looks like this. So if I want to draw another trend line, another regression channel here, it just draws itself. I'll not explain that any further here. You can look at the video about that one. But right here, you could say that this one is at the top of the channel, and yes, it might be. We have this single top, we have a big wick here at the candle, meaning that the sellers go in here. But then again, we are in a green zone and we are in a bit of a strange market right now. So what we could see right now is that we could be looking for a break of this top here, a drop back, and then some further movement upwards here. You could also just look to get in right here. So that's a bit of a, depending on your style. I would probably wait for a bit of buyer action here. But what I see is that it does have this up movement, moving a bit up, then taking a bit of a break for about a week, moving up, taking a break for about a week, and then there might be an upwards movement again in the advanced micro devices. Basically a stock that I'm very fond of. I think it is a very good and solid company. Just be sure, if you are a short-term trader, just be sure about that you check for earnings, because if you're going for these short-term bursts, and you run into earnings here, that can be a bit bad, especially in the current situation with this illness, and it's not really contained in the United States, and a lot of the companies are getting hit, but we don't know who yet. So be careful about these earnings. If you are long-term investors, it might not matter as much if you are more of a value trader or long-term over several years momentum trader. But advanced micro devices, absolutely a potential candidate. Then we have Amgen here, and also in the green zone, also been moving up quite strongly here, and again it is making a bit of a retracement, and the buyers are coming in. Again, someone would argue that we should not buy straight up into this top here, and that might be true, especially right here at the earnings. So personally, I would wait for a break of this one, a drop back, and then some extra movement up here. But it is a good candidate, and actually many of my Danish subscribers, when I talk about this setup, many of them are actually taking the trades while they're down here. They are not as conservative as I am. So many of them, and we have seen that in 3 or 4 cases here just the last couple of weeks, where I've gotten in up here, taking a good ride up, but they got in way further down, and they were making 40, 50, some of them 60% in a couple of weeks in some of the stocks, where I was, quote unquote, only making 20 or 25%. So that is also a question about how aggressive or how conservative you are. But Amgen, something to look for, as a stock that is about back at its former highs, and maybe it can swing further up. Then we have Amazon, a stock that many of you have asked me for, and that has actually broken that top. An amazing run up from the bottom here just 6 weeks ago. It is up right now 50%. Imagine a company like Amazon. First of all, imagine it being cut down like this and then go up like this. What I will be looking for here is a retracement to this top. This is one of the candidates that I'm actually looking at myself. A retracement here, but keeping in the green zone, keeping the RSI at the daily chart above 50. Retracement down to this area, and then a little move up here, then I could easily enter Amazon stocks. One to watch for as well. The next stock here is Centene Corporation. Look at this. This one actually makes the movement that I like. It broke the top. It is in the green zone. Broke the top. Went down to the former top. It is actually a double top here. It's a bit more obvious on the daily chart, but it breaks up above here, and on the daily chart you can see here a little retracement over a few days here, and then it is bouncing off of this one without getting into the negative or below 50 here on the RSI on the daily chart. So this is just what I like to see. And just for those of you that ask here, I'm using 40 weeks, 40 periods here, and let's just see here. I'm using 14 here on the weekly and 14 on the daily. So just if any one of you were wondering. I think that is the default settings on most RSI in most platforms. Then we have the Kroger. That one was in my former video. I think I mentioned it there some weeks ago, where it said it was bouncing here. I don't recall exactly where it was, but that was somewhere down here, and that one has had a really good run up. And right now it is still within its regression channel. We have the green zone down here. It has been taking a little break here, going a bit sideways, and we have to realize that also a sideways movement is also a retracement, or it can be a sideways retracement. You could argue that it actually looked like this, but it is a bit of a sideways movement here over a couple of weeks. And when a stock has gone up and then the only retracement it takes is a sideways movement, that is quite a good sign that the sellers are not very aggressive on this one. So it went down. It turned up again. The buyers came in here and they came in here, a couple of good days here. The RSI was still above 50, so the Kroger here could easily move further upwards. Also a good candidate. Eli Lilly, Another candidate, you know, it is a Medtech, the pharma company, and they have had a really good run up here. They might be a bit stretched right now. I'm not looking at the RSI to say if it is overbought or oversold. I don't really use these terms. Someone loves them. I don't really use them. What I want to see is that I want the RSI to be above the 50 line on both weekly and daily. And then I want to see a retracement down here. You could argue that there was a little retracement here, but I do like to see a retracement over some days. Normally, in less crazy markets, I actually like my retracements to be that we are able to see them on a weekly chart. So they might have a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks moving down towards here and then moving up. But right now, the markets are so volatile and crazy that we can adjust it a bit and saying we just want 3, 4, maybe 5 days moving down into a support area. We want the RSI to be kept above 50, and then we want some movement upwards. So Eli Lilly, also a candidate that I'm looking at. Then we have market access here, and the market access have done this that I've been talking about now. Green zone on the weekly chart, breaking up above resistance. Gone up here, spent a week or so retracing down to the former top here, and I think it was actually a top from before as well. And this is one of the situations where if it was just this top and I got a buy signal here, I might have taken it. But with a double top like this, I do definitely like to see the break up, the drop back, and then if Monday, Tuesday here we can get a bit of movement up here, and the RSI still staying above 50 on the daily chart, then market access is absolutely a candidate as well. Microsoft, one of my favorite companies, good and solid companies, it went into yellow zone here. If you're not sure what yellow zone is, then look at my videos under the playlist Learn My Strategy. It went into yellow zone here, but has moved up very nicely. And right now I am looking at, we had a little retracement here. There are not really any obvious support areas. You could also always try to find something and say, yeah, here's a gap and here's a gap. But that is the danger of technical analysis. It is that you are trying to find something to support your bias. And I recommend that you just look for the clean tops, the clean bottoms, because this one, trying to find something in between, in the middle of a trend, trying to find some justification for your entry, that is your brain playing games with you, in my opinion. So here we have this run up, a couple of days down here. And if we can see some upward movement here, you can see the RSI is still above 50, even though it dropped down for a few days. Then I don't mind that there's a top here, as I mentioned, as long as it's just not just several tops. And as you can see, Microsoft is there are no obvious other tops here we should be looking for. So I don't mind this top. I can see Microsoft easily blow through this one. Netflix is an interesting candidate as well. Many have mentioned it in this time of shutdown and stay-at-home orders and so on. And of course, that is something that we could be looking for. Here you're seeing a good example that I was actually getting some okay buy signals down here at the end of March. But we have this triple top, at least a double top, maybe a triple top here. On the weekly chart, and then we have another top here, so it's actually 4 times it has been tested. So I would not buy it. I could also have bought it here, but then I was buying straight up into this triple top, and it was sent down from there. So I was waiting for this break up, and now we are seeing a slow little retracement here, and I hope that we can get down towards this level and staying above 50 here, staying in the green zone on the weekly, and then see a good movement up here. We might see, and that is sometimes we see all of a sudden a big good green candle here, where the stock didn't even get down to the area down here, and then I don't mind buying it on a move up like this. Just remember that what I'm talking about here is trend following with small swings on the way. So you could easily argue, and some strategies are saying that you should not buy something that has gone up, let's just say here, 70% from a bottom. And you can argue about that, but then again, if we are looking at, let's just say here, Netflix, let's say you got an entry, you got an entry signal, let's say here around 100, but then one of your friends with another strategy said, well, just recently it has actually gone up 128%. Why on earth would you buy that? And then a couple of years later, we were at 404, and you were beating yourself for listening to your friend, because why on earth didn't you buy it when you got a buy signal? So just remember that just because something has risen a lot in price doesn't mean it cannot go up further. All of the big tech companies have had experts saying this is getting too expensive, and then they got up 1,000%. So please, if you have a trend following strategy, do not listen to experts saying that this is not value, so you shouldn't buy. On the other hand, of course, if you are a value investor and you have success with that, and that is your strategy, don't listen to trend followers like me saying, well, it's in a downtrend, don't buy it. Because if you have a strategy and it is working for you, you should not listen to some sort of expert or self-proclaimed guru telling you that you should not buy it because my strategy tells you otherwise. You should always have your own strategy and follow it. And then you should actually not read the news and not listen to guys like me on YouTube before you made up your mind. Of course, you can get inspiration from me, but if you have set your mind on buying a stock with a certain strategy, and then you stumble upon my video and I say the exact opposite and saying this stock is going down and you are long the stock, well, you have to make sure that we are talking about the same approach to the market. Because if we are not talking about the same approach, or if you're not approaching the market in the same way, then you should never listen to me. Or you could listen to me and then say, I disagree, so I'm going to buy the stock. So be aware that you should not be discouraged about some guru saying not to buy this stock if you are using completely different strategies on completely different time frames. That is an important factor. Netflix here has gone up quite a lot, but has broken this, I think, quite important area. And now we are moving downwards, and I am actually seeing Netflix being an okay swing trading candidate. Nvidia is also a candidate here on my list. It is in the green zone. It has been a little retracing here, staying above 50, and you could probably get some good entry here. You could argue again that we are in the top of the regression channel here, but just be aware that regression channels can be a bit deceiving right now because of these big swings. And since the regression channel is built up of a regression line plus minus 2 standard deviations, then the standard deviations can trick you a bit because of these huge swings. So it's okay to have them on your chart, but just be aware that they can be, over the next couple of months, they can be a bit misleading maybe. So I'm looking at Nvidia. If we're looking at the daily chart here, we have this downturn. Let's just put a couple of arrows on here. We have this swinging down here. Then we have this one up here. Some of you might say, isn't this an inverted head and shoulder formation? And yes, it looks that way, but just be aware that the head and shoulder formation, or the inverse head and shoulder formation, it is a turning point formation. It is a reversal formation. So you should never look for an inverse head and shoulder in the top of a long uptrend. You should look for it here, or you should look for it as a turning point up here at the top of a formation. You should not look for a reversal to the upside in the top of a trend channel. I hope that made sense. So it might look like an inverse head and shoulder, but it never is at the top of an uptrend. Walmart, again, someone broken up through a potential area here, broken up nicely, staying in the green zone on the weekly, staying on the above 50 on the RSI here, retracing a bit, look for a break to the upside. And I should say, I mentioned this in the beginning, if you can see the overall market breaking down, then I don't take these long swing trades, never. Then we are back at Akamai. We are through all of the 12 candidates. I hope this was kind of an inspiration for you, maybe to look a bit further at these stocks. I have found them. I put them in a little portfolio here in my Stockopedia software. I put a link to that below if you don't know this one. You can see them all in here, and we have the stock ranks. If I just sort here, you can see that I like the stock rank, at least for longer term investments, to be above 50. Also like the quality ranks to be fairly high. The value rank I'm not looking too much at, but the growth rate rank is also something I look at. So you can see here that actually most of them, just a second, I actually think this is the wrong list. Just to give me a second. Alright, sorry, I found the wrong list, but here we go again. I have all the ones. Here you can see them: Kroger, Centene, Amgen, Walmart, Akamai, and so on. All the stocks we just went through here. And you can see that the stock rank is fairly high with most of them. Kroger is at 98 and so on, meaning that they are in the top 2% as to the overall stock rank. Quality rank is also high. You can see the value rank is very low, but I'm not looking actually at the value rank when it comes to these swing trades. I don't really care about the value rank here, but as I said, the growth rank is also something I'm looking at. So depends, of course. If you are going to be in a stock for 3 or 5 days, it doesn't matter really what the fundamentals are. If your swing trades or these swing points are more a question of getting into a longer term position at a better price, then you should definitely look at some fundamentals. And my suggestion is, if you are going to hold a stock for much more than 3 to 4 weeks, then I would suggest that you at least look a little at the fundamentals. So you can see that the stocks here, you can pause your screen and take a screen dump of this if you want it to study it a bit further. But you can see that they are fairly high. It's only Advanced Micro Devices and Netflix that is below the 70 point here at the stock rank. And it is actually only Netflix that is below 70 at the quality rank. And at the growth rank, we only have Walmart, not a huge growth company here. So they are pretty good and solid companies, and you can get in most of them at some good swing points here. Not all of them are buy candidates right now, but as I've shown you, there are some good potential entry points in the upcoming week or two. So I hope this one gave you some inspiration and gave you a little insight into how I look at swing trading points, and also a better entry point on a bit long-term positions. That's all for now. Remember to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already, and the like button and all that down there. If you have any questions, just write them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer almost every day. And you can also write me at the Facebook site of Building Freedom. So that's about it for now. Take care of yourself and your money out there. Bye for now. Talk to you again soon.